Welcome to part 1 of our Business Concepts lecture. In this lesson, we're going to explore one of the most exciting areas of business, creating and developing a new venture. Many successful businesses begin with something surprisingly simple: a problem, an observation, an unmet customer need, a personal skill, or an idea about how something could be done better. But having an idea is only the beginning. Successful entrepreneurs must determine whether that idea represents a genuine business opportunity. They need to understand customers, evaluate risks, consider financing, study competitors, develop an operating model, and make important legal and financial decisions. Throughout this lesson, think about a business that you might personally want to start. It could be a restaurant, consulting company, online store, cleaning service, technology company, tutoring business, landscaping company, transportation service, or almost anything else. We will use that idea throughout the lesson to connect business theory with practical decision-making. Entrepreneurship is more than simply owning a business. At its core, entrepreneurship involves identifying an opportunity and organizing resources to create value through a business venture. Entrepreneurs frequently operate in situations where the outcome is uncertain. They may have limited money, limited employees, limited information, and limited time. Yet, they must still make decisions. This is why successful entrepreneurship requires a combination of creativity and business judgment. An entrepreneur needs to recognize opportunities, generate ideas, evaluate those ideas, make decisions, manage resources, and adapt when circumstances change. Several characteristics are especially important. First is creativity. Creativity helps entrepreneurs imagine new products, services, processes, or solutions. Second is innovation. Innovation takes useful ideas and turns them into something that creates practical value. Third is adaptability. Markets change, customer expectations change, technology changes, competitors change. An entrepreneur who refuses to adapt may quickly discover that yesterday's successful business model no longer works today. Another important characteristic is strategic thinking. Entrepreneurs must think beyond today's sales. They need to consider where the business is going, what resources will be required, and what risks could interfere with their objectives. Finally, entrepreneurs need to be comfortable operating under uncertainty. This does not mean taking unnecessary risks. Effective entrepreneurship involves understanding risks and making informed decisions about which risks are worth taking. One of the first questions future entrepreneurs ask is, where do I get a good business idea? There is no single answer. One source is your personal interests and skills. Perhaps you understand accounting, technology, cooking, construction, education, fitness, fashion, or digital marketing. Your knowledge may become the foundation for a business. However, personal interest alone does not guarantee that customers will pay for your product or service. That brings us to the second source: customer needs. Customers constantly experience problems. Something may be too expensive. Something may take too long. A service may be inconvenient. Quality may be poor. Customers may want something that currently isn't available. Entrepreneurs learn to look at these problems as potential opportunities. The third source is market trends. Markets constantly evolve because of technology, demographics, lifestyles, economic conditions, and consumer preferences. Entrepreneurs who identify these changes early may discover opportunities before competitors do. There are also techniques that can help generate ideas. One is brainstorming. During brainstorming, generate multiple possible ideas before immediately judging them. Another technique is mind mapping. Start with a customer problem in the center, then create branches for potential customers, possible solutions, product features, competitors, marketing channels, costs, and revenue opportunities. This allows you to visually explore how one idea can develop into several possible business concepts. What makes a new venture different? A new venture operates differently from a well-established organization. Established companies may already have customers, employees, processes, suppliers, financing relationships, and brand recognition. A new venture may have very few of these advantages. This creates uncertainty. Will customers actually purchase the product? Will the proposed price work? How will competitors respond? Can the business attract employees? Can it obtain enough financing? These questions create risk. New ventures can also face serious resource constraints. Money may be limited. There may only be 1 or 2 employees. The founder may perform sales, marketing, administration, customer service, and financial management personally. But new ventures also have advantages. One important advantage is flexibility. Because a young organization may have fewer established systems, it can sometimes change direction faster. Another advantage is innovation potential. New ventures can challenge traditional ways of doing business and introduce new products, services, or business models. This combination of risk, flexibility, innovation, and growth potential makes entrepreneurship challenging but also potentially rewarding. The course identifies creative problem-solving and creative ideation as important tools for discovering and launching new business ideas. Entrepreneurs should learn to define problems before jumping directly to solutions. Consider this statement: I want to open a coffee shop. That is an idea. But what problem does the business solve? Perhaps students in a particular neighborhood do not have a comfortable place to study during the evening. That is a much more useful starting point. Once the problem is clearly defined, the entrepreneur can generate several possible solutions. Maybe the answer is a coffee shop. Maybe it is a study lounge. Maybe it is a shared workspace. Maybe it is a hybrid cafe and co-working facility. Creative problem-solving encourages entrepreneurs to explore alternatives before committing significant money and resources. A practical process is define the problem, generate alternatives, compare alternatives, choose the strongest option, test the idea, and then refine the solution based on evidence. Successful entrepreneurs don't simply fall in love with their first idea. They remain focused on solving the customer's problem. Another major decision is whether to operate the business full-time or part-time. A full-time entrepreneur can dedicate greater attention to the venture. This may allow the business to develop more quickly. However, leaving employment to operate a new business can create significant financial pressure. A part-time business may allow the entrepreneur to maintain employment income while testing the business concept. This can reduce financial exposure. However, time becomes a major constraint. Imagine working 8 hours at your regular job and then trying to manage customers, suppliers, marketing, accounting, and operations during evenings and weekends. Neither option is automatically better. The decision depends on 3 important considerations highlighted in the course: financial stability, time commitment, and risk tolerance. If you started your proposed business today, would you begin full-time or part-time? Explain your decision. Entrepreneurs do not always need to create a completely new organization. There are several ways to enter business. The first is starting from scratch. This gives the entrepreneur significant freedom. You can develop your own brand, products, services, systems, pricing, and customer experience. But you are also starting without an established customer base or operating history. Everything has to be built. The second option is purchasing an existing business. An existing company may already have customers, suppliers, equipment, employees, operating procedures, and market recognition. That can be valuable. But purchasing an existing business requires careful evaluation. Why is the current owner selling? Is the company profitable? What liabilities exist? What is its reputation? Are existing customers likely to remain after ownership changes? Never assume that an established business is automatically a good investment. The third option is franchising. A franchise allows an entrepreneur to operate using an established business system and brand. The entrepreneur may receive operating procedures, training, marketing support, and an established business model. However, franchising can also involve fees, contractual obligations, and restrictions. The franchisee may have less freedom to change products, branding, pricing, suppliers, or operating methods. Therefore, entrepreneurs should compare the three approaches using factors such as startup costs, market presence, operational control, risk, available support, and long-term objectives. Start from scratch, buy an existing business, or purchase a franchise. Which would you choose and why? Before investing significant resources, entrepreneurs need to ask a difficult question. Is this actually a viable business? A viable idea must make sense beyond personal enthusiasm. There needs to be sufficient customer demand. The business must understand its competition. It needs resources. Its expected revenue must have the potential to support its costs, and the entrepreneur must be capable of delivering the promised product or service. This is where business analysis becomes extremely important. Entrepreneurs also need to consider the legal form of the organization. The course introduces structures such as sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporation. The appropriate structure depends on the circumstances of the venture. Later in the course, we will examine business organization and structure in greater detail. Even a promising business idea can fail if it doesn't have adequate financing. Entrepreneurs need to determine how much money is required, when it is required, and what type of financing fits the business. The key principle is simple. Financing should match business needs. An entrepreneur should not simply ask, "How much money can I borrow?" A better question is, how much capital does this business actually require? What will it be used for? And how will the business manage the financial obligation? Detailed financing options will be explored later when we discuss financial viability. A business plan should be based on evidence about the market. Market analysis asks three major questions. First, what is happening in the industry? Second, who is our target market? And third, who are our competitors? Understanding these areas helps entrepreneurs create a more focused marketing strategy. Marketing should not simply be advertising. It should connect what the business offers with the needs of the customers it intends to serve. Technology has changed how new ventures can enter markets. Entrepreneurs can use web-based tools for market research, business planning, e-commerce, communication, and digital marketing. A small business can potentially reach customers far beyond its immediate physical location. However, technology also creates challenges. Entrepreneurs must decide which technologies genuinely support the business, rather than adopting technology simply because it is popular. The objective is to use technology strategically to improve customer value and business performance. As a venture develops, several management areas must come together. Financial planning includes monitoring the business and understanding important financial information, such as the balance sheet, cash flow statement, and income statement. Entrepreneurs also need to understand break-even analysis. Operations planning determines how the business will actually deliver its products or services. Human resource planning considers current and future staffing requirements. And legal concerns cannot be ignored. Depending on the venture, entrepreneurs may need to consider government regulations, licenses, insurance, patents, copyrights, taxes, and other compliance requirements. A successful business therefore requires much more than selling a product. It requires an integrated management system. Let's review Part 1. Entrepreneurship begins by recognizing opportunities and transforming ideas into business ventures. Business ideas can come from personal interests, customer needs, and market trends. New ventures offer flexibility, innovation, and growth potential, but they also face uncertainty, risk, and resource constraints. Entrepreneurs must decide whether to start full-time or part-time, and whether to build from scratch, purchase an existing business, or consider franchising. They must evaluate viability, understand financing needs, analyze their markets, use technology strategically, plan operations and human resources, and address financial and legal concerns. Most importantly, entrepreneurship is not simply about having an idea. It is about turning an idea into a viable, organized, and sustainable business.
Welcome to Part 2 of Business Concepts. In Part 1, we examined entrepreneurship and the process of transforming an idea into a potential new venture. But identifying an opportunity is only the beginning. Once an entrepreneur decides that an idea has potential, a new set of questions emerges. Where should the business operate? How should the entrepreneur plan the business? What resources and equipment will be required? How should employees be hired? How will the company attract customers? What type of brand should it create? How can the business compete successfully? And eventually, should the company expand into new markets? In Part 2, we're going to connect these questions and examine how entrepreneurs move from business creation toward planning, operations, marketing, expansion, and strategy. As you watch, continue thinking about the business idea you developed during Part 1. This time, imagine that you have decided to actually launch that business. What would you do next? The course identifies negotiation and location selection as important operational decisions and lists raw materials, proximity to markets, infrastructure, economic policy, demographics, psychographics, industrial clusters, export processing zones, free trade zones and distribution channels among the location considerations. One of the first operational decisions an entrepreneur may face is choosing where the business should operate. Location is much more than finding an available building. The correct location depends on the nature of the business. Consider a restaurant. Being close to potential customers may be extremely important. Now consider a manufacturing company. Access to raw materials, transportation and infrastructure may be more important than pedestrian traffic. Entrepreneurs therefore need to evaluate location strategically. One factor is the availability of raw materials. If a business depends heavily on particular materials, being close to suppliers can potentially reduce transportation costs and improve efficiency. Another consideration is nearness to the market. How easily can customers reach the business? Or, if the company delivers products, how easily can the business reach its customers? Infrastructure also matters. Businesses may require reliable transportation, communication, utilities, and other supporting services. Entrepreneurs should also study demographics. Who lives or works in the area? What are their characteristics? The course also identifies psychographics, which can help entrepreneurs consider lifestyles, preferences, and attitudes. Industrial areas and clusters may provide advantages for certain types of companies. Distribution channels are another important consideration because businesses need reliable methods of getting products to customers. Choosing a location should therefore be treated as a business decision, not simply a real estate decision. The presentation emphasizes building trust and credibility through a professional image and specifically identifies authenticity, integrity, and transparency as leadership traits. Businesses are also judged by the professional image they create. Customers, employees, suppliers, and investors develop perceptions about an organization through their interactions with it. For entrepreneurs, professional image begins with leadership. 3 traits highlighted in the course are authenticity, integrity, and transparency. Authenticity means behaving in a way that genuinely reflects the values the business claims to represent. Integrity involves ethical and consistent behavior. Transparency means communicating openly where appropriate and avoiding unnecessary confusion or deception. Professionalism also appears through communication, reliability, preparation, and respect. The course's people management visual emphasizes qualities including communication, respect, persuasion, trust, openness, patience, thoughtfulness, preparation, honesty, feedback, support, decisiveness, creativity, and leadership. Notice something important. A professional image is not created by a logo alone. It develops through repeated behavior. Efficient inventory management requires balancing supply and demand while minimizing waste. Credit planning contributes to financial stability through credit policies and cash flow management. Businesses that sell physical products must make important inventory decisions. Too little inventory can create shortages and lost sales. Too much inventory can tie up money and increase storage or wastage. The objective is therefore to balance supply and demand. Imagine a small bakery. Producing too little means disappointed customers. Producing far too much can result in waste. Inventory management requires the business to understand customer demand and plan supply accordingly. Credit planning is another important operational consideration. If customers are allowed to purchase now and pay later, the business needs appropriate credit policies. Why? Because making a sale does not necessarily mean immediately receiving cash. A company may appear busy and profitable, but still experience cash flow difficulties. The credit visual in the course also presents the 5 C's of credit: character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. The broader lesson is that entrepreneurs must manage not only sales, but also the timing and reliability of cash entering the business. The course stresses hiring the right people through job analysis, interviews, and reference checks. It also highlights fair and inclusive policies and competitive compensation and benefits. As a business grows, the entrepreneur may no longer be able to perform every task personally. Employees become an important resource, but hiring should begin with understanding the job. What work needs to be performed? What skills are required? What responsibilities will the employee have? Job analysis helps answer these questions. The recruitment and selection process can then use interviewing techniques and reference checks to evaluate candidates. Hiring, however, is only the beginning. Businesses also need fair and inclusive employee policies. Compensation and benefits can influence employee motivation and the organization's ability to attract and retain people. Think about the long-term impact of a hiring decision. A strong employee may improve productivity, customer relationships, and teamwork. A poor hiring decision may create costs, conflict, and operational problems. Hiring should therefore be treated as a strategic business decision. Business insurance is presented as part of risk management, with the course identifying general liability, property, and workers' compensation insurance among the coverage types businesses may consider. Entrepreneurship involves risk, but responsible entrepreneurs try to manage risk. Business insurance is one tool for doing this. Different businesses face different exposures. The course introduces general liability insurance, property insurance, and workers' compensation insurance. The exact requirements depend on the business and its circumstances. The important management principle is this: do not wait until something goes wrong before thinking about risk. Entrepreneurs should identify significant risks and determine appropriate methods for managing them. Session 6 identifies objectives, market analysis, marketing strategies, financial projections, and operations as key business plan components. It also connects the plan with feasibility assessment, decision-making, and funding. We now arrive at one of the central documents in entrepreneurship: the business plan. A business plan explains what the company wants to accomplish and how it intends to accomplish it. It forces entrepreneurs to move beyond statements such as, "I think this is a great idea." Instead, they need to answer specific questions. What are the objectives? Who are the customers? What does the market look like? How will the business market itself? How will operations work? What financial results are projected? And is the overall idea feasible? The business plan diagram in the course connects planning at several levels. At the top are concepts such as mission and vision. These connect with goals. Goals lead toward business objectives. Objectives are supported by strategies, and strategies eventually become projects, tactics, and individual tasks. This demonstrates an important planning principle. A vision becomes useful only when it eventually translates into action. The course summarizes the importance of a comprehensive business plan particularly well. It helps evaluate feasibility, secure funding, and guide decision-making. Proposal writing requires understanding the audience, presenting a problem and solution, and demonstrating the value proposition. Entrepreneurs may also need to prepare proposals. A strong proposal should be designed for a specific audience. What problem does the audience face? What solution are you offering? Why does your proposed solution provide value? The course emphasizes that tailoring the proposal helps the audience understand the problem, recognize the solution's value, and increases the likelihood of acceptance. Businesses must also determine what equipment is required. Equipment decisions should consider cost, quality, durability, and compatibility. A business should conduct a needs assessment rather than purchasing equipment simply because it is new or impressive. The equipment should support business operations. The course also emphasizes maintaining and upgrading equipment as the organization develops. Session 7 moves into branding, advertising, promotions, effective selling, online advertising, and social media. A business can have excellent operations and still struggle if customers don't understand who it is or why they should buy from it. This brings us to branding. The course identifies several basic elements of a brand: the name, the logo, the design, and the company's reputation. Advertising helps communicate and reinforce the brand, but successful brand building requires consistency. Customers should receive a reasonably consistent message about what the organization represents. The objective is to establish an identifiable position and eventually create customer loyalty and trust. Promotion supports this process. Businesses can use strategies such as discounts, contests, and partnerships, but promotion should not be confused with simply reducing prices. The objective is to stimulate customer interest and support sales. The course also introduces consultative selling. Instead of immediately pushing a product, consultative selling focuses on understanding customer needs and tailoring solutions accordingly. This can contribute to satisfaction, stronger relationships, and customer loyalty. The course identifies display advertising, search engine marketing, SEO, and content marketing among online advertising approaches. It also emphasizes data-driven decision-making, personalization, and targeting. Modern businesses have access to marketing channels that previous generations of entrepreneurs could hardly imagine. Online advertising can help organizations reach specific audiences, but digital marketing also produces data. Businesses can analyze campaign performance and use the results to improve future decisions. This creates a cycle: launch, measure, learn, optimize. Social media extends digital marketing into communication and community building. The course discusses major platforms and emphasizes brand communities, engagement, influencers, and user-generated content. It also highlights valuable content, storytelling, authentic connections, brand loyalty, and conversions. The key word here is connection. Social media should not necessarily be treated as a digital billboard. It can also be a place where businesses communicate with customers and develop relationships. Session 8 emphasizes 3 important elements of pitching: clarity, empathy, purpose. As a business seeks investors, partners, employees, or support for expansion, entrepreneurs need to explain their ideas effectively. A strong pitch starts with clarity. What exactly are you proposing? What problem does it solve? What is the value proposition? Avoid unnecessary jargon. Use language that stakeholders can understand. The course emphasizes concise and memorable communication. Next comes empathy. Understand what stakeholders need and what concerns they have. Listen actively. Adapt the communication accordingly. Empathy can contribute to trust and stronger long-term relationships. Finally, communicate purpose. Why does this business matter? What positive impact can the idea create? What benefits will stakeholders receive? A compelling purpose can help motivate people to participate in the journey. Growth does not always mean creating another operation from zero. A company may expand by purchasing an existing business or franchise, but expansion requires investigation. The course emphasizes due diligence. Entrepreneurs should research the target business and assess financial health, market position, potential risks, competition, and cultural fit. Cultural fit is especially important. The values and vision of the organization should be considered during integration. A successful acquisition is not simply a financial transaction. Employees, customers, systems, and organizational cultures may all be affected. The goal is a smooth transition that preserves useful existing strengths while creating potential synergies. Strategy formulation at the business level determines how a company will compete, which customers it will serve, and what value it will deliver within its market or industry. Once a company is operating, another major question emerges: how are we going to compete? Strategy begins by looking outside the organization. External analysis can examine industry conditions, competitors, market segments, customer needs and preferences. Then look inside. What resources does the organization possess? What capabilities does it have? Where can the value chain be improved? What are the company's core competencies? The course then identifies several competitive approaches. Cost leadership focuses on becoming a low-cost producer. Differentiation attempts to make products or services distinctive and desirable. Focus or niche strategy concentrates on serving a specific market segment particularly well. And an integrated low-cost differentiation strategy attempts to combine distinctive value with competitive pricing. Strategy is about making choices. A business cannot simply say, "We want to be everything to everyone." It needs to understand where it can create meaningful value and competitive advantage. International strategy concerns the plans and actions used to expand operations and pursue objectives globally, including identifying opportunities and risks in foreign markets and determining how to enter and compete in them. For some businesses, expansion may eventually cross national borders. International strategy creates additional decisions. Which foreign markets should the company enter? How should it enter? Possible methods identified in the course include exporting, licensing, joint ventures, franchising, acquisitions, and wholly owned subsidiaries. Businesses may also need to adapt products, services, marketing, and operations to local preferences and cultural conditions. International strategy therefore involves market selection, entry mode, adaptation, risk assessment, distribution, supply chains, branding, legal compliance, talent management, financial management, technology, sustainability, and competitive analysis. Companies may pursue international expansion for growth, diversification, competitive advantages, cost efficiencies, access to talent, strategic alliances, and broader global presence. But international expansion also creates significant risks: political and regulatory uncertainty, legal requirements, exchange rate movements, economic instability, cultural differences, supply chain disruptions, operational complexity, competition, and the danger of expanding too quickly. One of the most important international challenges is balancing global efficiency with local adaptation. The course describes approaches such as glocalization, where a standardized global core is combined with appropriate local variations. Let's bring parts 1 and 2 together. A business may begin with an idea, but turning that idea into a sustainable organization requires much more. Entrepreneurs must plan operations, choose locations carefully, develop professional credibility, manage inventory and credit, hire the right people, manage risk, create a business plan, prepare persuasive proposals, select appropriate equipment, build a recognizable brand, promote and sell effectively, use digital marketing strategically, pitch ideas with clarity, empathy, and purpose, evaluate expansion opportunities carefully, and ultimately determine how the organization will compete. Some businesses may eventually move beyond domestic markets and develop an international strategy. The central lesson is simple: successful businesses do not grow through ideas alone. They grow when ideas are supported by planning, people, operations, marketing, financial discipline, and strategy. Welcome to Part 3 of Business Concepts. In Part 2, we examined how businesses plan operations, build brands, market products, expand, and formulate strategies for competing successfully. Now we move one level higher. Imagine that a company is no longer managing just one product, one market, or one business. It may own several businesses. It may acquire other companies. It may enter new industries. It may form strategic alliances. And it may need to coordinate thousands of employees across different departments, products, and markets. This creates an important strategic question: where should the organization compete, and how should all of its businesses work together to create value? That is the domain of corporate-level strategy. In Part 3, we'll examine corporate strategy, diversification, mergers and acquisitions, strategic alliances, strategy implementation, organizational structures, organizational culture, control mechanisms, and finally, blue ocean strategy. Corporate-level strategy represents the highest level of strategic planning within an organization. Rather than concentrating on one department or business unit, corporate strategy considers the organization as a whole. It establishes the company's overall direction and scope. At this level, senior leaders may ask, what businesses should we operate? Which industries should we enter? Should we acquire another company? Should we sell an existing business? Should we diversify? Should different business units share resources? And how can the entire corporate portfolio create value? Corporate-level strategy therefore involves choices about the overall collection of businesses and activities within the corporation. It is different from business-level strategy. Business-level strategy asks, how should we compete in this particular market? Corporate-level strategy asks, which markets and businesses should we compete in? The course defines corporate strategy as organization-wide decision-making rather than planning focused on individual departments or business units. One important corporate growth strategy is diversification. Diversification occurs when an organization expands its activities into additional products, markets, or businesses. But expansion alone does not automatically create value. The course identifies several reasons diversification efforts may fail. A company may pay too much to acquire another business. Management may fail to properly integrate the newly acquired company. Or, the diversification strategy may be so easy for competitors to imitate that it creates little sustainable advantage. Imagine a company purchasing another organization for an extremely high price. Even if the acquired company performs well, recovering the acquisition cost may become difficult. Now imagine two companies merging but continuing to operate with incompatible technologies, conflicting cultures and duplicated departments. The expected benefits may never appear, so diversification should not be pursued simply because management wants the company to become larger. The more important question is, how will diversification create additional value? The course identifies two important ways managers may create value through diversification: economies of scope and market power. Economies of scope can occur when businesses leverage common core competencies or share activities. Core competencies represent important collective knowledge and capabilities within an organization. These may include expertise in coordinating production, integrating technologies, or marketing different products and services. Another possibility is sharing activities. Multiple business units may use common manufacturing facilities, distribution networks, or sales forces. Instead of every business duplicating the same resources, the corporation attempts to use shared resources efficiently. The second concept is market power. The course identifies pooled negotiating power and vertical integration as two primary ways of achieving market power. The objective is synergy. Ideally, the combined businesses should create more value together than they could create separately. The course uses Procter & Gamble as an example of related diversification. P&G began as a soap and candle manufacturer and expanded into numerous consumer goods categories. The course highlights product categories and brands involving laundry detergent, personal care, grooming, and household cleaning. The strategic connection is important. Different products can benefit from shared capabilities. Research and development knowledge developed in one area may support innovation elsewhere. Supply chain expertise can support multiple product categories. Distribution networks can move many products to market. Marketing expertise and consumer insights may also benefit numerous brands. The course's example explains that sharing resources, technologies, and expertise can reduce costs, improve efficiency, and strengthen competitive position. This illustrates the logic of related diversification. Different businesses may be different enough to create growth opportunities while still being related enough to share valuable capabilities. Not every diversified corporation operates businesses that are closely related. This brings us to unrelated diversification. Here, value may be created through corporate parenting, restructuring, and portfolio management. The course describes parenting advantage as the corporate office providing expertise and support to business units in areas such as planning, financial management, procurement, and human resource management. It also describes restructuring as substantial corporate intervention that may involve changing assets, capital structure, management, expenses, strategies, technologies, processes, or reward systems. The central question remains the same. If the answer is no, diversification may simply create additional complexity. Another important method of corporate expansion is mergers and acquisitions. The course describes acquisitions as purchasing another organization and incorporating it into the parent firm. Acquisitions may provide access to valuable resources, including human capital. They may help expand product offerings. They can create opportunities for synergy through core competencies, shared activities, and market power. They may also help organizations enter new market segments. The presentation provides several well-known examples. Facebook's acquisition of WhatsApp is presented as a move into the rapidly growing global messaging market. Microsoft's acquisition of LinkedIn is presented in relation to combining professional networking with Microsoft's business software ecosystem. And Disney's acquisition of Pixar brought Pixar's animation capabilities under the Disney organization. Remember, however, an acquisition creates the possibility of synergy. Management still has to successfully integrate and operate the combined organization. Buying another company is not the only way to grow. Companies can cooperate through strategic alliances. The course defines strategic alliances as cooperative relationships between two or more firms. A joint venture is a specific form of alliance in which the partners create a new legal entity that they jointly own. Strategic alliances may help businesses enter new markets, reduce value chain costs, or develop and diffuse new technologies. Another option is internal development. Instead of buying another company or forming an alliance, the organization develops the new business itself. The course connects internal development with investment in new facilities, corporate entrepreneurship, and new venture development. Creating a strategy is only half the challenge. The organization must implement it. The strategy implementation material emphasizes understanding what the strategy is, why it matters, and how it will be executed. The process begins by clearly defining the strategy. What are the objectives? What outcomes are expected? What problem is being solved, or what opportunity is being captured? Next, develop a detailed plan. Identify actions, create timelines, assign responsibilities, establish key performance indicators, then allocate the necessary resources. These may include financial resources, human resources, and technology. The organization must also communicate the strategy. Employees should understand not only what the strategy is, but also how their roles contribute to it. Finally, establish metrics and targets so management can monitor progress. Implementation continues after the initial plan. Management needs to execute the planned activities and monitor whether responsible teams are completing their tasks. Risk management is also required. What could prevent the strategy from succeeding? Organizations should identify risks and develop contingency plans. Feedback then becomes essential. Employees, customers, and stakeholders can provide information that helps management understand what is working and what requires adjustment. Organizations should periodically review the effectiveness of the strategy. Successes should be recognized, failures should become learning opportunities, insights should be documented and shared, and organizations should remain flexible as market conditions and opportunities change. The course emphasizes that implementation is not a one-time event. It requires commitment, persistence, execution, regular assessment and adjustment. Strategy also influences how an organization should be structured. Organizational structure describes how roles, responsibilities, and functions are divided, coordinated, and managed. The course presents several structures. A functional structure groups employees according to functions such as marketing, finance, human resources, and operations. A divisional structure organizes the business around products, regions, or customer groups. A matrix structure combines functional and divisional relationships. Employees may report to both functional and project or divisional managers. A flat structure uses relatively few management levels and can support quicker communication and decision-making. Other structures include hierarchical, network, team-based, holacratic, and hybrid approaches. Each structure provides potential benefits and disadvantages. There is no universal structure that works for every organization. The appropriate choice depends on factors such as the organization's goals, size, industry, and culture. Most importantly, the structure should support strategy, efficient operations, communication, and decision-making. Structure tells us how the organization is formally arranged. Culture helps explain how people actually behave. Organizational culture includes the shared values, beliefs, norms, and behaviors that shape an organization's identity. Culture influences employee interactions. It affects relationships with customers and stakeholders. It influences decision-making. A company that strongly encourages innovation and risk-taking may produce very different decisions from an organization that strongly avoids risk. Most importantly, culture should align with strategy. For example, the course explains that a culture emphasizing customer centricity fits an organization whose strategy focuses on exceptional customer service. Organizations also need mechanisms for directing activities, measuring results, ensuring compliance, and managing risk. The course identifies 5 types of control mechanisms. Bureaucratic control uses rules, procedures, and policies. Output or results control measures outcomes and performance. Cultural control uses organizational values and norms to influence behavior. Financial control uses tools such as budgets and financial performance metrics. And behavioral control monitors actions and provides feedback. But management needs balance. Too much control can reduce creativity and autonomy. Too little control can produce confusion, risk, or non-compliance. Culture and control should therefore support each other. They should also remain adaptable, particularly when organizations operate in rapidly changing environments. Ethics matters as well. The culture should promote ethical behavior while control mechanisms help detect and prevent misconduct. So far, much of our discussion has assumed that businesses compete within existing markets, but what if the organization could change the competitive landscape? Instead of fighting harder for the same customers, what if it could identify new customers, challenge traditional assumptions, deliver different value, and create new market space? This brings us to Blue Ocean Strategy. The course describes Blue Ocean Strategy as breaking away from competition and creating your own market space by challenging industry norms and exploring new possibilities. The process begins with the market canvas. Understand current industry boundaries, identify where competitors are concentrating their efforts, then identify factors the industry takes for granted, and challenge those assumptions. Next comes value innovation. Determine what customers actually value. Find opportunities to deliver superior value in areas that matter, and look for ways to simultaneously reduce costs while increasing perceived value. The next step is particularly important. Explore non-customers. Who currently does not purchase from the industry? Why? What prevents them from becoming customers? Could the product or service be redesigned to attract them? The objective is not simply stealing customers from competitors, it is potentially expanding the market itself. Creating the idea is not enough. Blue Ocean Strategy must also be executed. The course recommends building a team that is innovative and open to change. Pilot projects can test ideas before a full-scale launch. Feedback can then be used to improve the strategy. Communication is essential so employees and stakeholders understand the new value proposition. Organizations should remain adaptable as market responses emerge. Pricing should also be considered strategically. A blue ocean approach does not necessarily mean simply lowering prices. Marketing and branding should communicate the distinctive value being created. Partnerships and alliances may also extend the strategy's reach and impact. The course provides several examples to demonstrate blue ocean thinking. Cirque du Soleil combined elements of theater and circus performance to create a distinctive entertainment experience. Nintendo Wii targeted non-gamers and families, while using motion sensing controls to create a more interactive experience. The presentation also identifies Yellowtail wine as an example focused on accessibility and simplicity. Tesla is presented as combining electric vehicles, technology, design, and environmental consciousness, and Uber is presented as transforming traditional taxi services through technology and an on-demand ride application. The central lesson from these course examples is not simply to copy these companies, it is to understand the strategic mindset. Do not automatically accept the existing rules of competition. Ask whether those rules can be changed. Let's summarize Part 3. Corporate strategy determines the overall direction and scope of an organization. Diversification can create value through core competencies, shared activities, and market power. But poorly managed diversification can also destroy value. Organizations can grow through acquisitions, alliances, joint ventures, or internal development. Strategy must then be translated into action through planning, resources, communication, measurement, organizational structure, culture, and control. And Blue Ocean Strategy challenges organizations to move beyond traditional competition by pursuing value innovation and creating new market space. Ultimately, strategy is not simply about having ambitious ideas, it is about making deliberate choices and successfully turning those choices into action.
Welcome to Part 4 of Business Concepts. Throughout the previous parts, we examined entrepreneurship, business planning, marketing, strategy, diversification, and strategy implementation. But even the best strategy does not exist in isolation. Every business operates inside an environment. Customers change, competitors react, technology develops, economic conditions fluctuate, governments change policies, social expectations evolve, and new opportunities appear. Successful entrepreneurs and managers therefore need to continuously understand what is happening both inside their organization and outside it. In this lesson, we will examine the global business environment, internal and external factors, SWOT analysis, pest analysis, competitor analysis, entrepreneurial opportunities, and social entrepreneurship. The business environment includes the conditions that influence how a company operates. Some factors exist inside the organization. Others exist outside the organization. This distinction is important because managers have different levels of control over each group. Internal factors are generally within the organization and under its control. External factors exist outside the company and are not directly controlled by management. However, even when a company cannot control an external change, it can often prepare for it and respond strategically. That is why environmental analysis is essential. The internal environment includes the resources, systems, and relationships inside the organization. The course identifies several examples. These include plans and policies, the value proposition, human resources, financial and marketing resources, corporate image and brand equity, physical assets such as plants, machinery, and equipment, labor management, relationships with employees, technology resources, organizational structure, infrastructure, operations, financial forecasts, and relationships among founders and their decision-making authority. These factors matter because they determine what the company is capable of doing. For example, a strong marketing team may help a company enter a new market. Poor internal communication may slow decisions. Limited financing may restrict expansion. Strong technology may create an advantage. Environmental analysis begins with a simple question: what do we have inside the company that helps or limits us? The course divides external factors into two broad categories: micro factors and macro factors. Micro factors have a more direct influence on everyday business activity. The presentation identifies customers, suppliers, competitors, the public, marketing and media, and talent. Macro factors operate at a broader economic and social level. They affect many businesses at the same time and can change rapidly. The course identifies economic, political, and legal, technological, social, and natural factors. One of the most widely used tools for analyzing a business situation is SWOT analysis. SWOT organizes information into four categories. First, strengths. These are positive internal factors. Examples from the course include the company's marketing approach, location, equipment, financial resources, investors, internal team, and the quality of the product or service. Second, weaknesses. These are internal limitations. The presentation gives examples such as lack of funding, limited target market size, production overhead, customer churn, and high employee turnover. Third, opportunities. These are external conditions that could benefit the organization. And fourth, threats. These are external factors that could create difficulties. The course identifies factors such as market trends, economic trends, financing conditions, customer demographics, and political, environmental, and economic regulations as influences on opportunities and threats. A useful way to remember SWOT is, strengths and weaknesses look primarily inside. Opportunities and threats look primarily outside. The course provides a simple market trend example. Imagine that a company's best-selling product is a traditional men's wallet, but customer preferences suddenly shift strongly toward crossbody belt bags. That trend could threaten sales of the existing product. The business should therefore recognize the change and consider how to adapt. SWOT analysis can be useful when launching a new initiative, changing internal policies, pivoting the direction of the business, or modifying a plan while it is already being executed. While SWOT combines internal and external analysis, PEST concentrates on broader external forces. Let's examine each category. First, political factors. These can include government stability, regulation, taxation, labor rules, trade policies, and geopolitical risks. A regulatory change may create an opportunity for one business and a threat for another. Second, economic factors. Economic growth can influence consumer spending. Exchange rates affect importing and exporting. Inflation changes purchasing power. Interest rates influence borrowing costs, and the size and demographics of a market affect demand. Third, social factors. Culture matters. Consumer behavior changes. People's lifestyles and expectations evolve. Corporate social responsibility and sustainability can influence company reputation. Workforce characteristics affect staffing, and social media has transformed customer engagement. Fourth, technological factors. New technologies can completely transform industries. The course specifically references areas such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, automation, digital business models, and e-commerce. Technology also raises questions about data privacy, cybersecurity, and infrastructure. Some organizations expand PEST into PESTLE. The additional letters represent legal and environmental factors. The course gives an important example. Suppose your company relies on a component produced in a country that becomes subject to government sanctions. If the supplier becomes unavailable, your production could be disrupted. That issue would be considered under the political category of PEST analysis. This example demonstrates why environmental scanning matters. A company does not need to control an external factor in order to prepare for it. Businesses also need to understand their competitors. Competitor analysis should not simply ask, who sells the same product? A stronger analysis asks, what do competitors offer? How are they positioned? How do they market? What customer problems do they solve? Where are they strong? Where are they weak? The course identifies several benefits of competitor analysis. It can help a business understand industry standards, discover untapped niche markets, differentiate its products or services, better satisfy customer needs, distinguish the brand, improve marketing, and measure growth. The objective is not to blindly copy competitors. It is to understand the competitive landscape well enough to make better strategic decisions. The broader purpose of business environment analysis is opportunity recognition. The global environment can create challenges, but it also creates entrepreneurial opportunities. Technology can create new industries. Changing demographics can create new customer groups. Economic growth can increase demand. Social changes can create new needs, and regulatory changes can create entirely new markets. The entrepreneur's task is therefore not simply to ask, what is changing, but how can this change create value for customers? This connects environmental analysis directly back to entrepreneurship. So far, much of our course has focused on creating customer and financial value. But entrepreneurship can also address social and environmental problems. This leads us to social entrepreneurship. The course defines social entrepreneurship as the use of entrepreneurial principles, processes, and strategies to develop, fund, and implement solutions to social, cultural, or environmental issues. Social entrepreneurs are primarily driven by a mission to create social impact rather than focusing only on profits. This does not necessarily mean that social enterprises ignore revenue. In fact, long-term social impact often depends on financial sustainability. First is social impact. The primary objective is to address problems such as poverty, education, healthcare, clean energy, or environmental sustainability. Second is innovation. Social entrepreneurs often develop new systems, products, or approaches. Third is sustainability. The enterprise should be able to support its mission over time. And fourth is scalability. An effective social solution may be designed to reach more communities, regions, or populations as it grows. The course identifies several reasons why addressing social issues through entrepreneurship can be important. Social ventures may meet the needs of underserved communities. They can create self-sustaining solutions rather than depending only on one-time donations. They may promote self-reliance and economic independence. They can also foster innovation, create economic activity and employment, scale solutions, and promote a more socially responsible economy. The presentation uses examples including Kiva for scalable microlending and Patagonia as an example of combining commercial activity with environmental responsibility. Social entrepreneurship may also attract investment, advocate for systemic change, and inspire others to take action. Social entrepreneurs face significant challenges. The course identifies funding, scalability, balancing social and financial goals, and market acceptance. To remain sustainable, social enterprises can use several revenue models. The presentation includes sales of products or services, buy one, give one, subscriptions, donations and crowdfunding, pay what you can, freemium models, social impact bonds, corporate sponsorships, fee for service, and licensing or royalties. Let's summarize Part 4. Businesses operate within constantly changing internal and external environments. SWOT analysis helps identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Pest analysis helps managers understand political, economic, social, and technological forces. Competitor analysis provides insight into how other firms operate and where opportunities may exist. These tools help entrepreneurs identify opportunities within the global environment. Finally, social entrepreneurship demonstrates that entrepreneurial thinking can be used not only to create financial value, but also to address important social and environmental challenges. The strongest businesses understand both the world inside their organization and the world around it. And the strongest entrepreneurs learn to turn change into opportunity.